So that kind of simplicity of system, not over-engineered, not over-applied. And we can think of ways that things can be massively over-engineered to the detriment of organizations. So when we can keep that simpler and keep it moving quickly with strong business controls, meeting SOX compliance requirements, that to me is the system that we need. Now, one of the things that humans are, they're messy. They are not particularly good at being ruthlessly consistent. Systems are very good at being very, very consistent. So where there are tasks, steps and processes, and comparisons, contrasts, things like that need to be done very consistently and follow rules, that's where systems are better at that than humans. Humans right now have an edge in the creative thinking, in the relationships, in the dynamics between people. And
spot on. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Never Ending Climb. We're switching things up today, where our typical host, Shaun here, is now our guest. And I will be your host today, EJ Kosec. Shaun, we're here in the ConvergentIS offices, and we decided to set up a microphone and a camera because everyone wants to know about you. You've spent so much time asking everyone else about themselves. We'd love to hear a little bit more about you. So first off, this office is beautiful. It's located right in downtown Calgary. Tell us a little bit about this office.
so I guess we can call this a labor of love, because I think we can all appreciate that being in another stuffy office with drop ceiling tiles and crazy thin walls that have every sound transfer are not inspiring. And the same boring office where Bill, Ted, or whoever has spent the last 20 years telling you why something's not going to work, that is not the environment to go and get really creative about how to really genuinely solve a problem. So that was the inspiration here. And of course, there's a lot of blue, a lot of green. The blue is from me. The green is from my wife. And I love the way that this space is creative. So the lights, for instance, out there have the hue of sunlight and the light emission, if you will, the lumens of a sunny day where you've got just slightly indirect sunshine coming in. And in that, they're tossed up and they're hung from the ceiling as if there was a bunch of matchsticks thrown up in the air in one of those like freeze frame where you can pano around and look at them all hanging in the air. And so the guys that got the construction drawings, I think, nearly had an aneurysm when they looked at the plans, but they managed to make it happen. And now it doesn't matter if it's gray out or sunny or night or day. Down here in the office, it feels like a bright sunny day. And those little things do wonders for the mood.
Yeah.
We've got fun little bits like the acoustic tiles in the ceiling are laid out like Tetris, just for fun, but they're white. So, I mean, it's easy to not notice. It just means that you don't have those extra bits of echo that you otherwise would have. There's a bunch of soft furniture. It feels more like a living room than it does an office. And that is exactly what I was going for.
Wow, I am learning even more about this office and appreciating it even more. I think one of the big reasons why we wanted to have the podcast right up here is because we were in our lead team meeting yesterday, right down there with the rest of the team, and you can just see the needle right here perfectly, and then you get the sunlight right there. To know everything else that you put into this makes so much more sense. It's such a collaborative environment. It feels so right to just hop over at someone's desk and hop on a whiteboard. Anywhere you want to go, you can have fun and collaborate with people. You could play Jenga or go outside and just have a coffee with your fellow colleagues.
Out on the patio. It's a little cool out there today.
Yeah. One other thing that I think is a story that is really special and sort of the ethos of Convergent is when you were setting up this office, you didn't just hire a team to come and, deliver everything. Every single Convergent employee was helping screw all the chairs together and the tables and assemble everything, correct?
BYOD, build your own desk.
Yeah,
absolutely. And all the desks that go up and down, We had folks come in, all the dozens of whiteboards that are in here, they came in boxes, in pieces, and, assemble the whiteboard. But now there's dozens of whiteboards that we can roll around and use as needed. Sometimes we're sketching ideas. Sometimes we're jotting down notes. Sometimes we're using them as a shield for a Nerf gun fight that once in a while, we get to go do that at the end of the day. Usually on a Friday afternoon, it's like, hey, where's another Nerf gun bullet? I know how this got here. But those are the to me, ingredients for go work hard, play hard, and really enjoy the people that you're working with.
I love it. And yeah, I found a few Nerf darts just moving these chairs around. I love it. I love it. And a labor in love indeed. Speaking of a labor of love, ConvergentIS has been your baby for the last 11 years. So let's go back, maybe learn a little bit about before Convergent and what inspired you to start this company.
I think I've always been intensely curious, and somebody had asked me a similar question a little while ago. What I think a most concise version of that is as long as I can remember, like 8 years old, taking apart the CD player, that I was like, where's the needle, right? Because the record player was the thing before this, and fortunately being able to put that back together because those were new and expensive. That curiosity played through my early business career that worked for the railway. And actually, we could see trains rolling by the window just out there.
Yeah, that's sweet.
And worked for internet service provider, large cable internet service company, a large financial institution, and then the railway. But through that experience, going from startup to very large corporation to stalwart of national history, and now call it North America's railroad that spans countries like none other. It's been super cool to see that evolution. The curiosity brought me, and the problem solving brought me the amazing opportunity of a new job every year or two. And it would sometimes take the form of, one of my favorite examples was I was in an operations kind of focused role looking after import-export refrigerated containers, deep logistics, supply chain, that kind of thing. And a lot of pork going out of this country, a lot of apples going out of this country the other way, and a lot of shrimp coming in, as an example. A whole bunch of other stuff too. Film, for instance, needs to be temperature controlled when you're using the old school film. But when you pair that kind of experience going through operations, marketing, strategy, etc., I love the learning opportunity. And I had a mentor tell me early on that your career is a marathon, and every new job that you're in for a couple of years is like another degree.
Yeah.
So getting to go and spend time in operations, and my phone rings. This was one of my favorite moments. And this guy named Bill was like, hey, can you come and talk to me this morning? And I couldn't do that. I had a bunch of stuff that had to get done. It's an operation-centric role, very time-sensitive, but I could come and see him this afternoon. So I didn't know who he was, but he told me where he was in the office, and I got back to my desk, and after I got a few things done, I'm like, who am I going to go see? And I'm looking through Bill in the address book, and I can't find a Bill that's on that floor. And one of the most wonderful things about sitting right here is before that building was built, I could actually see where I sat that day that I had that call. I used to sit on, at my desk and look out the window at this funky building that had this cool atrium, and I would find it really curious to look at. And
wow.
the circular way that I'm now here, and I, until those buildings were built, could look back at that office. But I realized that this guy, Bill, I didn't know who he was. I couldn't find a Bill in the address book. And I'm like, well, what else could Bill be? And then I thought, William? And I sure enough, William, Chief Internal Auditor. And I'm like, huh. All right, grabbed the last few copies of the invoices I approved, my last few expense reports, and my resume, and I went to go see him. A bunch of questions and conversations, and how would you approach XYZ? And I was working for him a few weeks later. So that, to me, is that wonderful opportunity of an attitude of, what am I going to learn?
Yeah.
How am I going to get to go do this? And so there was a whole series of things like that created opportunities for me to go and learn wonderful new things, like working in internal audit for a year. Wonderful opportunity to learn. I'm slightly dyslexic, so me doing financial auditing is a terrible idea. But operational auditing of, does this process make sense? And how do we know we're going to get the outcome that we're looking for, or that we would probably detect something going sideways? That risk and control lens was one of the most beautiful gifts to take away from that experience. And it's shifted the way that I look at and work with internal audit or external audit teams ever since.
Yeah.
And it's influenced the way that I've built this company too, because implementing one of the world's most comprehensive ERP systems for a company that's tiny feels like a ridiculous idea.
Yeah.
But there's so many things that, with those lenses and experiences, I know that this company is really well run through that lens, and it is able to be automated, and I can have hands off knowing that there's a whole bunch of controls that are in the business that let me do that. So much of my early career was learning about facets and features of business, logistics, supply chain, procurement, and audit. And then that led me into a program manager kind of role, looking after large ERP related implementations. And that journey, getting to learn those things, is one of the things that I'm so grateful for, because when you get the opportunity to go learn such a broad set of things, it creates this broad set of experiences. And I'll describe myself as a generalist that is intensely curious and loves solving problems. But then that brought me to a few frustrating experiences with some systems integrators of, don't worry, it's not a problem, we've done this before. And then I said, well, can I just buy that if you've done it before? And they said, oh, no, you can't buy that. And so in starting ConvergentIS, so much of the principle was around, if we're doing something like a type of workflow or a type of app that would be beneficial to other organizations, we will build that in a way that it could be helpful to others.
Sure.
And make sure that our agreements and so on are structured, that the intellectual property and code use rights allow us to go take that forward. And the next time somebody asks me or asks our team, could you help us with this? And we can say, not a problem, we've done that before. Yes, you can buy that. Then it creates the capacity for us to license software. And that has had the most wonderful opportunity and a compounding effect over more than a decade to create a remarkably comprehensive set of solutions that, yes, you can buy that, you can license that. Oh, you need these 3 more things? Great, we'll figure that out as part of the transaction, as part of the implementation, so that those two become parts of the product. And that product, more than a decade later, is, I'm more than just a little proud of it, because it's frickin' incredible.
Yeah. And in my short time here, being able to be exploring all over under the hood of it, I'm so impressed how comprehensive and robust the solutions are, and the framework that you've built is beautiful. So you've felt the challenges. How can you build solutions if you've never actually lived the challenges? It's easy to be a software company and to just hear, some challenges a customer faces and then tie it to your solution. But here you actually form fit the solutions for the challenges that you felt in the field. And I think that's a remarkable journey for a founder of a software company. And I've seen and felt and heard your lessons that you've learned in a lot of these deep workshops that we've been in just last week alone. And so, speaking of the challenges themselves, Convergent, like you mentioned, a smaller company that implemented a massive ERP solution, one of the first. What were the challenges and lessons learned implementing such a big project?
Yeah, and to put a fine point on it, we were literally the first in the world to go live on SAP S/4HANA. And I can look back on that and jokingly call that the public beta stage.
First in the world.
Literally.
Like that is a very, very big.
There was us and Florida Crystals that were like neck and neck trying to make sure that we got there. And I love that, looking back on that, almost 10 years ago now, that decision paid off massive benefits, because it created the conditions for us to lead by example and literally eat our own cooking, right? And that over time led us to go and implement S/4HANA for several other organizations, like from soup to nuts, do the whole thing. Yeah. And when you're helping an organization change the operating system that MRP and sales and procurement and all of finance, all of these things work on, it brings a set of comprehensive perspectives from different leaders, different parts of the organization that you can then bring back to infuse into designs for products that we're creating.
Yeah.
And the number of different challenges across public sector, manufacturing, pharma, oil and gas, utilities, and the list of industries that we've been able to work with and help support goes on.
Mm.
One of my favorite things, and I absolutely adore this, is everybody is special and unique and different, just like everyone else. And we talk about and emphasize beautifully simple solutions. Mm-hmm. Simple does not mean oversimplified and incapable. Mm-hmm. It means taking the complexity and distilling it down to its essential components and having that work in a way where somebody using it feels simple, feels the simplicity without belittling or diminishing any of the sophistication that's required to make it work exceptionally well. Yeah. And that's a problem that I run to and I love.
Yeah. On the topic of simplicity and streamlining super complex processes.
Love that stuff.
I know you do. We just had a massive product launch this year.
Yeah.
Rio, responsive intake and orchestration agent. How is Rio now going to take things to the next level for enterprise and for mid-market and for small businesses across the board to really help get to that level of simplicity that you're envisioning?
What I know is that there's lots of things out there that are kind of ChatGPT wrappers.
Yeah.
They don't interest me.
No.
And I have not met somebody that wants a fancy chatbot that can answer a question, because you can get one for $20 a month.
Yep.
So what I know is that people are looking to go and fill skill gaps. And there are teams and leaders in organizations that are, frankly, desperate for team members to go and pick up and handle and carry the workload that these organizations are struggling with. And they need team members to come in, and there's some grace for getting up to speed and learning. There always is. All of us have brought in an intern or an analyst or, wonderful people like Sarah, who, by the way, makes all of this happen, are people that started and have a learning curve and they need to get up to speed. Mm-hmm. Rio is that team member. And some of the first skills that are the most mature are things like invoice processing, where this is not an invoice automation tool per se. Mm-hmm. It makes a traditional invoice automation tool look quaint. Yeah. And I'm not good at bragging, so this kind of hurts me a little to say it.
I'm American, so I can do that for you.
But that's awesome. That's awesome. Thank you. I need somebody to help me with that. But this idea that you can watch Rio chew through invoices, not just that have been fed in a pipeline, but do the role of an analyst in accounts payable. Mm-hmm. That level 1 accounts payable analyst, that job, you can now just hire Rio to go do that. Yeah. I have not come across another company that is looking at it this way. Yeah. And what I love about this is organizations that are strapped for time and vendors that need to get paid, and the volume of portals and emails and phone calls and everything else. Look, if you can email and that is a simple way to interact, I think that's the original network, isn't it? Right? That's the OG network.
How many people?
There are billions of people on this network, right? Going all the way back to the 70s and ARPANET. If you have an email address, you're on the network. Yeah. That, to me, is a beautiful opportunity to take what used to be a very manual job of keying in invoices, and now it's literally done for you. Mm-hmm. And then Rio will put its hand up if it's not sure how to handle something. And then most of the time, it doesn't have to put its hand up when it runs into that thing again. So you can say, hey, Rio, when you run into this scenario, this is what you need to do with it. Great. It will keep doing that. And as long as it's confident and it understands how confident it is at doing something, it will keep doing that at a pace that I've never met a human that can work that fast. We're talking at least 10x from an efficiency perspective, and even handing it some of the most complex invoices. And if you go at the other end of the intake to pay, procure to pay, being able to process requests and then workflow those through, but to be able to do that in a way where it applies an extra level of intelligence and contextual awareness of your organization. But it's not just about chatting with your process. It's about now go execute.
Exactly.
And that to me is where orchestration, if you're just orchestrating and handing it over to somebody to go manually key it in, or hoping that an API call can work, that's less interesting.
Yeah.
So Rio is there and can actually go and take that and then create the PO in multiple different systems, depending on which one it needs to work with. And then go and handle some of the inventory movements, handle three-way matching. So when you can go and orchestrate across that, and then obviously we're running into use cases outside of intake to pay, but focusing first on making sure intake to pay and supply chain procurement are just incredibly rock solid.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I believe that bringing some of the best of generative AI as an ingredient, but not the solution, but it is but an ingredient, is a fantastic opportunity. And we're already seeing it.
Yeah.
So what I think Rio is a team member that you can hire into your organization, just as we've put Rio to work for us.
Yep. That is a crucial point. Two crucial points. One, you're not just talking to a chatbot looking for it to give you an answer. You're actually talking to an intelligent agent, giving it an action to go do task.
Bingo.
That's the big difference. And then the other thing is you're an AP clerk, a sourcing agent, a supplier manager, a buyer. And everyone's worried in this world of AI that you're going to lose people are going to lose jobs. No, you're actually going to have a team. You're going to increase your workforce because you're going to have a team of agents around you helping you, so you don't have to be manually keying in all of these, mundane tasks and risking human error. We've seen this internally, right? We're starting to use Rio internally here. So let's speak on a little bit about, one, how we're building Rio internally, and then two, how you envision the future of AI to continue to increase the pace at which we see businesses getting more optimized.
When I think about the shift that the world is going through right now, is the best businesses don't run entirely on people. They are led by, inspired by, guided by, and work done by people. The best businesses build and run systems to consistently deliver what's needed. This is the fundamental premise of Lean. It's the fundamental premise of Six Sigma, is creating the consistency in product. And wherever possible, reducing and eliminating muda, waste, in that process. So we've continued to see this all the way back to like Ford versus Mazda, right? In 1990. Ford's trying to three-way match the crap out of everything. And then Mazda's like, listen, we're going to pay you for one windshield. And we only put one windshield in per car. And every car we make, we're going to pay you for a windshield. And you think about the massive contrast in effort to go and try to jam things into a three-way match process, as opposed to, look, we're going to need one windshield per car. We're going to pay you for one windshield per car, and it's going to keep it simple. That's the simplicity that really is going to make a difference. Is there a little bit of risk of like a windshield gets broken once in a while? Sure. That's an exception, not the rule. And you design for the primary purpose. So that kind of simplicity of system, not over-engineered, not over-applied. And we can think of ways that things can be massively over-engineered to the detriment of organizations. So when we can keep that simpler and keep it moving quickly with strong business controls, meeting SOX compliance requirements, that to me is the system that we need. Now, one of the things that humans are, they're messy. They are not particularly good at being ruthlessly consistent. Systems are very good at being very, very consistent. So where there are tasks, steps and processes, and comparisons, contrasts, things like that need to be done very consistently and follow rules, that's where systems are better at that than humans. Humans right now have an edge in the creative thinking, in the relationships, in the dynamics between people. And that is where the best organizations are going to be. They're going to be building the relationships, bringing the encouragement, the vision, the imagineering of what could be, should be, would be, and then automating the heck out of everything else.
Yeah.
And to do that in the most remarkably capable way, that's where bringing the right degree of and the right application of some of the newer technologies, I'm not even going to say some of the names of them because in a way it doesn't matter, but bringing some of the best of technology forward to create to create the consistency, to create the repeatability and the certainty, the trust in the outcome of the goal that the company is seeking. That's going to be challenging. It's going to need reallocation of resources and things like that. But we also know that coming out of this, we create stronger, more resilient, more consistent experiences.
I love it. Vision is painted and clear. You heard it from the CEO of ConvergentIS himself. But let's talk briefly about Shaun personally, the husband, the father, and the badass mountaineer, crazy helicopter skiing guy. Tell us a little bit, I think people don't know enough about you. You spend a lot of time asking everyone about themselves. Who is Shaun outside of ConvergentIS?
Yeah, it's funny for somebody that is now showing up on LinkedIn as much as I am. I'm actually usually a fairly private person. And it's taken, let's just say it's still kind of uncomfortable for me to be on LinkedIn as much as I am. And to have this put out there for the world is, I don't know, I guess I'm doing the work of myself to get comfortable sharing stuff like this beyond, immediate friends and family. That said, my philosophy, spirit, life, etc., is to be a great father, husband, and leader, and to go out in the world and explore, build, discover, etc. That ability to go and bring that kind of coaching and initial exploration and build and get things started, and then have a team to go and help finish it off.
Yeah.
That never-ending climb that I talk about is very much about building a better self to be there for all of those people that love and care about, that depend on you, that look up to you. And that's a core philosophy for me, is build a 10x version of myself so that I can be there for my kids, my wife, family, friends, team members. And that's pivotal. So that means learning to deal with stuff and learning to put myself out there in ways that I am still a little uncomfortable about. But to be able to do that, because recognizing that these are things that I get to do. And it seems cliche, but it is so true. When you think about something through the lens of you get to do it as opposed to you have to do it, that's amazing. So for my kids, I don't put pictures of my kids out there on social media, because at the end of the day, that's going to be something for them to decide when they're older.
Yeah.
And for my wife, I was sharing with you the story of the suggestion of like, how do you date your wife? Like even this morning, my wife and I took the dog, and our oldest son was even awake a little early, and he came with us to go for, a walk a few kilometers. It was still dark. Other two kids were still sleeping. But that time together is so precious. But it's combining this concept of kind of net time, no extra time, because you need exercise, you need to connect, you need to build and reinforce those relationships to, keep dating your wife. And the number of people that I've met that are in roles similar to mine that, I just feel so blessed to have the relationship with my wife and to go get to have these adventures with my kids. I think one of the ways that I can paint a picture of what it's like in part of my private world is all of our kids started biking and skiing pretty much as soon as they could walk, on a Strider bike and on the little plastic skis. And, all three kids are part of the Nordic Ski Club. And people joke about why does, Nordic childbirth hurt so much? It's because they're born with skis on. I think this is probably true, right? But to be able to go and have that that sense of adventure as a family to go and play in the mountains and go out and do hard things. But the do hard things gets back to that idea of pushing your comfort zone. And so our kids are growing up looking at mom and dad exercising, staying fit, going out, doing hard things, and contributing in ways to go and leave the world a better place. And when we get to go and show our kids what that's like, they grow up thinking about and having shared experiences like backpacking into Mount Assiniboine. It's 28 kilometers. And so we, over 2 days with packs and everything else, we got in there and we're in there for several days. And then one of the days we went and we hiked up and around Mount Cotley. And this is when we had a 6, 8, and 10-year-old. And as kind of just one example, and going up and around Mount Cotley, that's a 19-kilometer day with about 900 meters of elevation. And so getting up and around Mount Cotley is about 18, 19 kilometers of distance and about 900 meters of elevation. And on the way, you get to like run down some of the most beautiful soft screed. If you don't know what that is, it's basically those tiny rocks that are coming down off a mountain, and it feels like skiing in the summer. It is so much fun. It's incredible. And the looks, the joy on the kids' faces as they got to come down at this. And we were coming around, it was getting to the end of the day. There's a lodge up there called Mount Assiniboine Lodge. It's amazing. Friends run that. My wife actually used to manage that over the summer, so it's a special place for the family. But as we're coming down around, we're like, oh my goodness, we might be late for afternoon tea. And afternoon tea there is where you can get some drinks and some nice little cake spreads, things like that. And so myself and 2 of the kids started trail running to go get there before afternoon tea finished so that we could go get a couple of drinks and little cakes and stuff like that and in case not everyone was ready to run. So here this long day turns into a little trail run. And we get there, we get the snacks, and everybody catches back up, and we get back, and amazing day. So at the end of the day though, I turned to the kids and I said, hey, guys, if we wanted to take that 900 meters of elevation and turn it sideways, then we're like mid-20s for kilometers in distance. Well, it's about 30 kilometers to hike out of here. So guys, do you want to do that in 1 day or 2? And they're like, well, I guess we just did that. And you just did a hard thing. And now here's a 6, 8, and 10-year-old that are suggesting to me that they think that if they can do that, they can go do this other hard thing. And that to me is one of the most perfect examples of the next day, or 2 days later, I guess, as we are hiking out in 1 day, coming out of Mount Assiniboine over Wonder Pass. God, the views are amazing. They call it Marble Lake for a reason, because this thing is incredible. But you get to hike out. Yeah, we were giving them like another little gummy bear, like every kilometer, and stopping for snacks and stuff like that. And yes, we had the stuff in case we needed to stop. And yes, we did work with the lodge to go fly out their backpacks. So they were just carrying themselves, because this was a really hard thing for them to do. Yeah. But when you go through life through that lens of when you do hard things, other things don't seem so hard. And you create those reference points to stretch the comfort zone and build the confidence. And that to me is a great example of the never-ending climb. Because our kids talk about, of course they're kids, they have moments where they're like, I don't want to go today. Yeah. Everybody does that. Yeah. Adults feel that way.
Yeah, it's actually the earned dopamine to when you do achieve it.
Right?
It's the better days.
It is. And for our kids to go through life with this idea that going for a run, going for doing something hard like that is just a thing. And then watching that translate to, well, I don't really want to do that math homework, but I have to. So they're pushing through it, and that building that muscle. And it also comes into the way that, we set up this, some people have heard about the 75 hard workout program, right? And we've created for our kids, I'm not in a hurry to get them a phone. Which sounds funny because I'm in technology, but I want them to become a person who's ready for a phone before they get one. So we created this idea of like 60 hard for our kids, and they need to go 60 days demonstrating the character traits and habits that shows to mom and dad and themselves and the world that they're ready to have this distraction monster as a phone.
Oh, wow. I
Right?
love that.
And
I love it.
they're kids, so it's not a super rigid 75, can't miss a day or you go back to zero. There's like the concept of a little bit of grace in there. One of these days I'll go and put the little contract and program together. We'll share that out. But
Yeah.
like I would invite others to consider, what would that mean if somebody was needing to learn how to become the person to be ready for.
Yeah.
And again, that comes back to that never-ending climb. Who do I need to be? What beliefs and habits do I need to leave behind? So it's about figuring out what beliefs and habits aren't serving me anymore. Because I know where I'm going in life, and I know what I want that to look like. So what beliefs, habits, and so on do I need to stop doing, that I need to leave behind, to make room for those new habits and beliefs, to become the person that is ready to unlock that? And that's a different level of metacognition, of thinking about what I'm thinking about and being aware of what might be holding myself back. And most of the time it starts in the mirror, right? And the Shaun that started this company could not handle it today. But I am on an ongoing journey to learn what I need to learn, leave behind what's not serving me, build the skills, the beliefs, the habits to get us where we need to go. And to the extent that I can bring that as an example for my kids, for my wife, for people that I know, love, and care about, that to me is living the never-ending climb.
I'm now just like seeing and understanding the definition of like a trailblazer. There is a mountain. There's nothing on the mountain right now, and you are clearly laying out the trail. Your family's following you. Your friends are following you. And most importantly, as one of your employees, everyone in this company is behind you. So, Shaun, thank you so much for taking us all on this never-ending climb. Thank you for taking the time to speak, because I know you would rather be the host probably than the guest. I had to beg him for this.
Way more comfortable to be the host asking the questions than the one answering them. So thanks for making this fun.
Yeah, of course. And I hope everyone was able to get a great glimpse into the man that we all see. He's brilliant. He's incredible. And he's a fun, quirky guy too, which we also love. So thank you everyone for joining this episode, the special episode of the Never Ending Climb. And we'll see you next time.
Thanks, everyone.